FCS, NDSU dominated the first half against South Dakota State in the Dakota marker game. Thought this was going to be the game that the Bison bring the marker back. You don't got to watch
say you
South
felt
Dakota State.
confident at halftime is an understatement.
Well, halftime was, I wouldn't say I was confident. About 4.5 minutes before halftime, I was feeling very confident because NDSU was up 21-7. They were rolling. They just hit a big play from Cam Miller down to Braylon Henderson for a 41-yard play to get down to the 6. And then this ref makes an absolute joke, horrendous, horseshit call I've ever seen, trying to make it about him and make sure that he knew that he would get some airtime. Cam Miller throws a dart, pulls it out, and does the bow and arrow. And the ref somehow thought it was a throat slash or something. The explanation was garbage. And they get pushed back to the 21. And then the next play, and was a horrendous play call, is they bring in their backup Cole Payton, who's hasn't really thrown a whole lot this year. And he throws it into double coverage, interception. Game flipped after that. South Dakota State took momentum. They outscored the Bison 15-0 in the second half. NDSU or 16, yeah.
16.
And, that one right.
And the offense seemed like really conservative. They forgot they had Hunter Lipke. They just did not look good. But to the defense's credit, they bowed up. They held them to field goals when they had to. And that's been a staple for NDSU throughout their runs have been field goals aren't going to beat us. And if the offense just shows a little bit of a pulse in the second half, they win this game. And this has been a theme kind of this year too, because in Youngstown they didn't score. And it's just
Indiana State even sounded like they didn't really. They scored 30, but it sounded like they damn near gave that one away too.
Well, and are they scoring in the second half, or are they starting hot starts and just kind of fading?
It's hot starts fading. It's been the opposite of what we're used to seeing an NDSU team. And it was their tackling was okay. The linebackers, sounds like they're going to get Cole Wisniewski back. He's going to be a big present. They definitely missed Eli Mostert, who's an All-American D end, who's not going to be playing the rest of the year because of he's out for the year. And they did a good job of keeping Gronowski in check. He only had 21 yards rushing, and 14 of them came on one play. He didn't even throw the ball that great. He only had 150 pass yards, but couldn't stop the run.
It's like Davis looked like a freak in the limited video I saw.
Davis had over 100 yards. Amar Johnson had 12 rushes for 89 yards and a touchdown. And Tamarick Williams had a big game against Indiana State. He had one rush, and then he had a couple of catches. He only touched the ball 3 times. Hunter Lipke was only in one play on the final drive. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he was hurt or what, but he's your Walter Payton Award winner going away. That seems like a guy you should probably put on the field when you're down late in the fourth quarter, but that's just me. And the receivers for the Bison, they probably had as a unit, they had their best game to date. DJ Hart had 4 catches, 59 yards and a touchdown. Zach Mathis had another good game, 5 catches for 53 yards. So the receivers are coming along, and they're going to need it to step up because Phoenix Sproles announced today, right before we started recording, that he's entering the transfer portal. So he's not going to be a part of the
time to do it. Like what?
Well, because he was out the last 2 games. He only played in 4 games, so that way he can. This was his last year, so
he can almost like redshirt this year, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. Similar to what like Kelly Bryant did back in
half the freaking SMU team right now, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this Bison game and this one stings. This one for sure, because it felt like they had it, and you're just not used to seeing a Bison team blow a 2-touchdown lead ever. And this, I usually am not a fan of rematches, but I hope NDSU plays them in Frisco again because they're going to whoop their ass. You heard it here first.
I guess two questions or two statements here. One, number one, when was the last time, guys? I'm being serious. We saw the Bison blow a 14-point lead in the Fargo Dome.
I do have an answer for that. Actually, I want to say it was when we were in college. It was 2015 against South Dakota. South Dakota.
Yep.
Was that when Carson broke his wrist?
That was when he broke his wrist. Yep. No, it was South Dakota.
He came back to the UNI game. You're right.
No, that was the game before.
Oh, it was the game before? I thought he broke his wrist. Okay.
He broke it against South Dakota because actually, Dylan, not to bring back bad memories for you, but that was
on the field there.
But that was also the same day, wasn't it? That Michigan and Michigan State had that infamous muff punt. It was today.
Yes,
that's right. You didn't respond to my message in the Instagram chat about that.
Oh, I haven't even looked at it yet.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
That's gonna be great. I can't wait to watch that now.
Yeah, because I saw it and they're like, on this day, 7 years ago, I was like, Dylan's gonna love this. But still, 7 years without blowing a lead like that at home, it's unheard of.
Especially,
ever.
That as far as I can remember, it has to be, because I can point out all the NDSU losses from 2011 to now, and that's the last time I think where they blew a 2-touchdown lead.
I think that's legitimately the only loss I remember from being at NDSU is that South Dakota.
But then also,
they only lost twice when we were there, because it was against Northern Iowa in the Unidome, and then that one. Oh, and Montana. They lost to Montana too.
Yeah, that game was after we were out,
right? Wasn't that game in Montana?
That game was a week 0 Montana Carson senior year
at home.
At home. Oh yeah. They only lost 3 times when we were in school together.
Yeah, and then like when I was still living there, because I lived in Fargo through till spring of 17. The only other home game was that James Madison won in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so,
but then also I think it just shows how dominant and kind of how spoiled this Bison fan base has been.
Very true.
We're talking a 10-year run where they've lost 2 home games, and people blow 14-point leads, unfortunately, all the time. Where they've done it one time in 10 years, it's remarkable how dominant this team has been, and how the culture and the standard that this program has. Because normally when they get up 14, pack your bags and send the visiting team home, because it's going to get ugly.
Well, you want to even know what's crazier is they've, since from 2011 to 2013, and then I believe in 2014, the playoff game against Coastal Carolina was the first time they gave up 30 points in a game,
which is incredible.
And I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to do it now, but I think you could count on one hand the amount of times NDSU has given up, almost one hand, close to one hand, or just one hand, how many times they've given up 30 points in this run. It's only like 6 or 7 times.
I was going to say, I feel like that game in Montana might be one of them.
That was the first one they lost where they gave up 30 points.
What about Joe and James Madison beat them? That they put up some points in that game.
It was like 31-21. So there.
Yep.
And then against Northern Iowa in Northern Iowa, they gave up 30.
Was that 14? Was that Carson's only loss at the first start?
That was 20-3.
Okay.
And then when else was it? Oh, Eastern Washington in 16.
Was that the Cooper Cup game?
Yep.
Double.
He was so stupid good.
Yeah, that was the double overtime game, right?
Just one overtime. Just one overtime. The week before it was a double overtime game, but you're exactly right. And I was probably saying some things I shouldn't have, acting emotionally, because I was frustrated. But at the end of the day, their season is far from over. They still have everything ahead of them. They've got a bye week this week to get right. Then they got Illinois State, then Western Illinois. 2 teams they should beat. And then they've got Southern Illinois, UND. 2 good teams who South Dakota State has to go play this week. And I would not be shocked because UND is a very tough place to play. And in the 2021 spring season, and you can make of that what you will, that was South Dakota State's only loss until the championship was in the Alaris Center.
Why is the Alaris Center such a hard place to play? Is it just dingy and there's not much atmosphere?
Well, so it is. It can. They don't have the following that NDSU has, which
it's a hockey town.
Yes, and I that makes me a little bit worried because you know who's coming to town in hockey this week for the
Minnesota.
Yeah. So
Minnesota gonna beat the shit out of them.
And could be. And
the Fighting Mail Carriers.
And yes, because UND's just really good at home. But like when that place is loud, like when the Bison went up there last year, Jeff Kolpak, our former guest, he said that, and he got a lot of heat for it too. He said that since NDSU has gone Division I, they haven't dealt with that type of noise than when they played in the Alaris Center.
Well, yeah, because all the noise is when they're at home and their defense is on the field, but their offense, you can hear a pin drop in the Fargo Dome.
Exactly.
And it's not like anywhere else in Missouri Valley is going to be, crazy loud and have a, home field advantage like what NDSU has. I don't know if the Unidome gets loud. South Dakota State, they got a nice, beautiful open stadium. I don't know how loud that gets. And we know everywhere else in the Valley just kind of seems like a lull. So maybe that's just Bison fans being emotional, but for him to catch heat like that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Because they were bringing up how they played in Iowa, Iowa State, Kansas State. But I agreed with him. I could believe that though, because if you've ever been in the Alaris Center, it's just a big metal building. It's basically a Quonset because it's just metal and it just rattles. It doesn't have the steepness that the Fargo Dome has, but it just rattles. And there's stands on seats on just the sidelines, and then there's standing room on the end zones. So yeah, and it was the biggest crowd that UND has had in probably since when they were rolling with Dale Lennon in the Division II era. But it's just kind of one of those tough places to play, and they're really good at home. So, and in previous years, South Dakota State has had some letdowns after playing the Bison. It cost them home field throughout last year when they took a loss, and they got to go to Northern Iowa as well this year. So we'll see what happens.
That's a crazy schedule for South Dakota State to have to play on the road against NDSU, UND, and UNI. That's incredible.
Next year they get them all 3 at home.
I guess, yeah, you look at it that way. So it's just every year.
Don't quote me on the UNI game, but I want to say I know they play UNI, but UNI has gone up there multiple years and beaten South Dakota State in Coughlin alumni, which the only time people show up for that game, show up to that stadium is when the Bison play. So, or USD.
They've been filling that place up pretty well.
Yeah, when you watch it on TV, it doesn't look like it. But
visitor side's not very full, but their stands are.
Let's see here. They sold out the South Dakota game. They were about 80% this year, but previous years, it hasn't been. And they've got, and I was going to look and see what they have to go to UNI. So and UNI is down, but that's still a tough place to play. And who knows, that might be UNI's playoff game for the year. So we'll see. Bison went out and take care of business. They should be the 2 seed. They dropped to 4 right now, and they're behind Weber State and Montana State and Sacramento State. So I don't know if they play each other, but Montana State has Montana still, Sacramento State still has Montana. So big games. We'll see. Bison just got to take care of their business and see, and hopefully get a rematch in Frisco.